not quite 4 months since I posted my last video, and I've been slacking, I know. But today I want to show you guys how I edit my photos in Lightroom to look like film photos. Essentially what I've done over the past 4 or 5 years has been shooting a lot of film, and during that time I've also kind of developed 4 main presets that I use pretty heavily. They're my most rotated presets in Adobe Lightroom. And these presets mimic Kodak and also Fujifilm stocks, and so they are one of my favorite, just my go-to presets in Lightroom, and I want to share those with you guys today. One of these presets I'm going to link below completely for free. You guys can download and use them freely. And the additional 3 presets and the 4 presets in total, I'm going to link in the description to my store where you can purchase them for $10, and this will help me out on the channel, and I'd really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and check out the presets, and I'll show you guys exactly how they work.
Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and download the link that I attached in the bottom of the description. And what that's going to do is going to download the film presets here. It's called film presets .zip. And once you unzip this, it's going to come out with this folder. And inside this folder, you have 4 film presets. Film 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have a label as 1, but yeah, these 4 film presets. The first one I'm actually going to include completely for free. So that's the one, if you're just downloading for free, you'll be using this first one. Okay, so go ahead and open up your Lightroom. And so I've got a photo loaded, preloaded here. This is a photo I took in Miyajima, which is in Hiroshima, Japan. And it's a pretty interesting photo, but obviously this was just taken on a Canon 6D 1.4 Sigma lens. And what I want to do is make it obviously look a little more film, a little bit more, ideally with film, you make the shadows greener, you add a lot of grain, and then you kind of, depending on which film stock you're trying to mimic, kind of slightly oversaturate it. So right off the bat, let me go ahead and show you what the first film stock looks like. This is film 1. And also over here on the presets side, once you press develop, you go over to the presets side, you can actually 2-finger click or right click and press import. And then that will bring you, if you go to the folder I clicked recent, that has all the presets, you can go ahead and import all 4 of these presets. They're called Lightroom templates, by the way. And so once you've got them loaded up and labeled, you can quickly access them here on the left. And so let's go ahead and click film 1. And so right off the bat, you can tell, let me show you the difference. Right off the bat, this gives a super dark, filmy look. As you can see, the oranges are a little bit more orangey. The shadows are, I don't even know how to explain this, but they're a little bit more green. And then they're also darker overall in the shadows, and the highlights are kind of blown out. And additionally, it's kind of like an orange hue to the whole photo. I really like this. Once you get to this point, you can go ahead and tweak it depending on whatever photo you have. So for this one, I would probably turn the highlights down a little bit, and then the shadows up a bit, just to give a little bit more, obviously, like clarity and definition in this bottom part here, because it's like the main area. I mean, you can play around with it, but I wouldn't give it too much. Obviously, like I wouldn't turn the shadows up too much, because then you'd kind of make it almost hyper realistic and it wouldn't be very filmy. But a lot of times the film photos have a large definition range, and so maybe put the shadows up a little bit, and also the blacks just a touch. Another thing that I do often is I turn down the vibrance and I turn up the saturation, and this also gives it a sort of like film look. And so if you kind of just compare it between left and right, already it looks quite different. But additionally, the difference here is that when you look and you zoom in, this is kind of the look that you're going for when you want to mimic film. This super grainy, super almost pixelated look. And so this took me a while to kind of like get the settings right. But this is one of my favorite parts of these presets, is like this film look. And you can kind of tell like across the board here, it's very different in terms of the original and the after photo here. And so if you go down to the grain, this is where the main portion of, a lot of times I feel like presets kind of miss out on this aspect of it, and this is what really gives it like a film vibe, is the grain. And so sometimes some people don't like as much grain, so they'll like turn down the amount. I like to keep the amount actually, and then play around the size. The size kind of gives it like either less or more definition. So you can actually, if you don't like this sort of like blown out look, you can turn down the size and turn up the amount, and even maybe turn up the roughness just a tad. And then when you zoom out, it still kind of gives it a similar grain effect as compared to what we had originally, which was this one. And this is just kind of the pre set grain here. And so yeah, this is basically all there is in the first preset for film, and this is obviously free. The other three are slight variations and actually play with different different color tones. And so depending on like where your photo was taken, they work better. So for instance, this one has a lot of oranges, so this one works really well with this first preset. Preset number 2 is slightly less orange. It's very, very slightly different. Let me go ahead and show you preset 1 and preset 2. Preset 2 mainly plays with the just the balancing of shadows and blacks. The shadows, highlights, and whitens, black, sorry. And it's kind of based on the traditional Fuji Superia. Once again, it's not very noticeably different, but it is noticeable, especially in the highlights area. I'm sorry, the shadows area mainly, or mostly highlights, but like, if you can tell, like, the blues are slightly different in these two film stocks. And so these are actually one of my 2 favorites. The other 3 are very, very different. So the third one gives it more of a blue hue. And so we turn up the shadows just a little bit here. We need to turn down the exposure. This one gives it a noticeable blue hue as compared to what we had here, which was a much darker and orange look. This one, if you go back, it gives the highlights a slightly blue tinted feeling, and this works well in like super brightly lit photos, and also additionally maybe photos like by the ocean or lots of blues. This works really well. And then finally, the 4th preset is a little bit different. It goes even more extreme. As you can tell, the first 2 are pretty basic. Well, basic as in like they're pretty not too crazy, pretty neutral. The 4th one blows out the oranges a lot, and I like this a lot, especially in Japan, because there's a lot of oranges in the fall time with the various tree colors in the autumn, and then also temples in Japan, and just overall places with wood. This 4th preset looks awesome, and it's one of my favorites. Additionally, you can go ahead and play around here with all of the and you can already tell here actually the vibrance is turned way down, the saturation up, and so once again you can zoom in, and this one has a different grain preset as well. Just kind of slight variations in all 4 presets. This one is kind of more along the Kodak, almost Kodak Gold film stocks, and so it's a really, really good one. Let me show you another photo that I've used the 4 film presets on. Let me go ahead and show you how they look. So this is the first one. Once again, gives that green dark in the shadows, the green shadows. Once again, it gives that greenish hue in the shadows, brings up the highlights really strongly, and the contrast is very well, but it keeps, the key term here, or key point is it keeps the shadows defined, so you can still tell what's inside the shadows, and that's one of the key elements of film. You can actually even like further enhance that by like turning up the shadows here and there. That's film 1. Here's film 2. Once again, slightly different, very slightly different, but noticeably different. Film 3, as you can tell, the highlights are bluish, so they work pretty well here actually. If you don't like that orangey look on mainly the highlights right here, this will give you a completely different contrast in the highlights. And so I actually like this one as a variation. And then finally, film 4 doesn't really work well here because it's already super orangey. I probably wouldn't use this film preset particularly for this photo, but it works really well on other photos. My favorite probably either 3 or maybe a slight variation of 1. Finally, here's a third photo that I've already put the film 2 on, and this is a before and after kind of look here. That's film stock 1, film stock 2. Film stock 3 gives it a little bit more orange on the highlights, but also keeps the blue in the background, which is kind of nice. And then actually 4 here works kind of interesting. It kind of makes it a little bit more orangey, but not too bad actually, which isn't too bad. You can actually turn down the saturation just a touch there, and it looks pretty good, all while keeping the grain consistent, which I like a lot. And actually this one you probably turn on the highlights a little bit. And there you have it. Yeah, so these are the 4 film presets that I heavily use. They're in my daily rotation. I use them for all sorts of photos. These work great on iPhone photos as well, and not just DSLR photos, which is awesome. So yeah, please let me know what you guys think, and leave a comment, and also like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.